having a really good weekend and welcome back to my channel again. So for today's video I thought I would go through the symptoms I had during the 2-week wait which led to my positive pregnancy test. I'm going to quickly apologise in advance if you hear any weird noises during this video because we have started decorating our bedroom this weekend and Andrew is doing all kinds of sawing, whatever loud things he seems to be doing in that bedroom. I don't know, but it has been very loud, so yeah, there could be that, but it also does mean that hopefully my bedroom room tour will be coming in the next week or two, which I'm really excited about as our living room tour went down really well and has been by far my most popular video, so that will be coming soon. So yeah, the 2-week wait was weird for me this time because for those of you that haven't watched my channel before, I will give you a quick overview. Myself and Andrew have been struggling with infertility for around 2 years, just over 2 years now, because mainly of my PCOS, and it has meant I ovulate extremely irregularly, and therefore it is difficult to track ovulation, pin that down, and also just means we were getting a lot less chances to try and conceive because I wasn't ovulating every month as you should. In January I began my first cycle of the fertility medication Clomid, which forces your body to ovulate, and I did actually ovulate on about cycle day, somewhere between cycle day 15 and cycle day 17, which is unheard of for me, and it meant I was able to track ovulation. We knew exactly when to try, and I also knew when I was in the 2-week wait, which I've never kind of normally known for sure. So I did have a few symptoms in the 2-week wait, but as it was my first round of Clomid, I wasn't aware kind of what were symptoms just due to the Clomid and what were symptoms due to being pregnant. So I'm just going to go through those symptoms for you now. What I will say is that the symptoms I have had with this pregnancy have been completely different to the symptoms I've had with my past pregnancies, which didn't work out. And weirdly, I would say that with the other pregnancies that didn't work out, I had way more symptoms than I have had this time. I'm currently 7.5 weeks pregnant, so I am in no way safe. Things can definitely still go wrong. I am more than conscious of that, and it scares me every single day, but I'm trying to remain positive. Things have been very different this time, and last week we were lucky enough to see a heartbeat on a scan. So yeah, that is kind of the symptoms I'm going to go through, but what I do want to say is that it doesn't seem to be that if you have symptoms with one pregnancy, you're going to have the symptoms with the next one. Some of mine have followed through, some of mine have been completely different. So yes, I will go through my 2-week wait symptoms for you now after that long and rambly intro. So I think with the 2-week wait this time, I didn't have any symptoms at all until about 4 or 5 days before I got my positive pregnancy test. I was feeling, apart from the hormones from the Clomid making me insane, I was feeling pretty fine, pretty normal. My boobs weren't sore, and my boobs weren't sore for the whole 2-week wait, which is very unusual for me. Normally, the only time I've been able to know I've ovulated is when I get sore boobs down the side of my boobs. I always get that, and this time I did not have that at all. In fact, I didn't get that until a week or so after finding out I was pregnant. I have them now, and even now they're not that sore. Like, I know people say like, oh, I can't even put my bra on, or I can't even like have something brush past them without being in agony, and for me it's really not like that. They just feel sore down the sides as if I'm going to get my period, which scares me a lot, but that's just how I've got it, and I'm hoping that's fine. But yeah, so during the 2-week wait I had no sore boobs at all in the slightest, which was unusual for me because normally when I ovulate I do get sore boobs, but I didn't really read anything into that because I was on my first cycle of Clomid. I thought maybe you just don't get that with Clomid. I had no idea really. So now looking back, maybe that was a sign because I always get sore boobs, but I didn't the month I conceived. So I got my positive pregnancy test on Wednesday the 8th of February, and I first noticed somewhat weird kind of symptoms that made me think possibly there was a chance on the weekend before that. So that will have been the 3rd and the 4th, is that? The 4th and the 5th? That weekend anyway, and the first weekend in February. And the first thing I noticed was cramps. I had a lot of cramps, and I did remember thinking, this is really early to be experiencing cramps. I normally get cramps maybe a day before I get my period. I'll start to feel the cramps, but this was a good possibly a week before my period was even due, because I tested on somewhere between 11 and 13 days past ovulation, so I wasn't even testing kind of late, like after my missed period. I tested fairly early still, and so it was extremely early to be experiencing cramps, which did make me think, that's really weird. But again, first cycle of Clomid, maybe that's just what happens. I was really kind of oblivious to how that would work, and I didn't read into that too much either. What I also did notice alongside the cramps was this very strange tired feeling in my lower abdomen. When I woke up in the morning, my tummy would feel tired. I don't know if that makes sense. If you've been pregnant before and you know what I mean when I say my tummy felt tired, please let me know. But I just felt like, and this, I never do this, so I don't know why I would feel like this, but I felt like I'd been doing loads of sit-ups or something and really working my abs. Like, it just felt really achy and tired, like I'd been working it out major and a lot had been going on. And let me tell you, sit-ups are not something that happen in this house, so it was really strange for me to have that kind of tired feeling when I had definitely not been working out. Sorry if I've moved positions, my camera just died. On the Sunday before I got my BFP, which was 3 days before I got my BFP, I noticed I had what felt like heartburn. I have never ever experienced heartburn, so when I've heard people talk about heartburn, I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure I'd never had it before, and after experiencing that, which I think was heartburn, but I'm still not sure, I was like, that is really weird. I've never had this before. Everything I ate that day felt like it was just sat there. I had that like burning feeling. Nothing felt like it was going down properly. I just felt like I couldn't digest anything. It was really weird. So I remember thinking then, like, this is really weird to me. And I kept kind of saying to my mum and to Andrew, like, oh, my food's not going down, I feel like I've got heartburn. And I was secretly hoping one of them would be like, ooh, isn't that a pregnancy symptom? But no one did, so I was just like sat there like, sure, I've got heartburn. But not wanting to read into it too much, but that was really strange for me. I've never ever had that, and that carried on for about 2 days after that. But it did stop before my positive pregnancy test, and I haven't noticed that really since. The odd tiny bit, but nothing like that. That was really unusual for me, and that did make me think, maybe I've got a chance. But again, Clomid, never been on it. Maybe this is normal. Maybe this is a side effect of the Clomid. You just don't know. But looking back now, I think that was definitely a big symptom for me, and a big sign that maybe I had conceived that month. The other thing that I noticed that was really strange for me, and that happened again on that Sunday before I found out I was pregnant, and this is something I had with my previous pregnancies as well, and was always kind of a sign for me that maybe I had conceived. And it's a weird one. I had never heard anyone mention until I watched Hannah Mag's pregnancy symptom video, and she mentioned an eye twitch, and I have never ever heard anyone mention that. And when I had it with my previous pregnancy, I remember googling like, can an eye twitch be a sign of pregnancy? You know, when you're like really reading into symptoms, and I was like, can an eye twitch be a sign of pregnancy? And you get the odd person being like, yeah, I got an eye twitch, but there wasn't really anything kind of set in stone. It wasn't one of the really common things you hear about. but I was sat on the sofa and I felt my eye twitching, and it is so extreme. It was literally like, I felt if I'd looked in the mirror it would have been shaking in my face. It's always here on my left eye, and that was really weird. And I did think then, maybe I am pregnant, because that eye twitch is bizarre. That's the only time I ever get that, is when I am pregnant. I don't have that throughout pregnancy up to where I'm up to. I haven't had it again. For me, that is a sign I always seem to get before I find out I'm pregnant, and it's really weird. And one you don't hear talked about very much, but yeah, twitchy eye. So if you've had the twitchy eye thing, please let me know. Is that a common one? Because literally until I watched Hannah Maggs's video, I've never heard anybody else mention the eye twitch. But that is a big, big, big warning sign for me that that might have been a good month for conceiving. So yeah, by that Sunday I was thinking like, oh, maybe I could actually be pregnant, and I was feeling quite excited. But then on the Tuesday, so the day before I got my BFP, I woke up with the worst cramps. Literally felt like I was going to get my period any second. They were really, really strong cramps. I was sure I was going to get my period that day. I was completely sure I was out. There was no doubt in my mind my period was coming. They were proper strong cramps. So I had no doubt that my period was coming that month. I said to myself, because the nurse had told me to test on the Wednesday, and I said to myself, if I've not got my period by tomorrow morning, I'm going to do a test still. But I had no hope in my mind that I could be pregnant, because I literally felt like I was going to get my period any second. There was no possibility in my mind at that point that I could be pregnant. Now we know that I had conceived twins, and whilst sadly one didn't make it, obviously my uterus was having to stretch a lot because it was going to accommodate 2 babies, not just 1 baby, so I had a lot of cramps. I still get cramps now, although not as extreme as that. That first week I found out I was pregnant, the first 2 weeks probably, I was absolutely petrified because I had really, really strong cramps. And I know people say like, oh, you can get light cramping, it can feel like your period's just about to start. But for me, I had no doubt in my mind before I took the test that I couldn't be pregnant, and after I took the test that I was going to have a miscarriage. There was no doubt in my mind because it was such strong cramping. So for me now, the twin thing makes a lot of sense. And I did have a few people say to me like, well, maybe it's twins, because I also had a really dark positive. To have been to testing at potentially 11 days past ovulation, I had a really strong positive, and I also had it on a digital. So my levels must have been quite high to be that early on. So now the twin thing makes a whole load of sense, but at the time all I could think of was either I'm not pregnant or after that I'm going to miscarry. There was no doubt in my mind. So yeah, that was it. That were my symptoms during the 2-week wait. There were a lot of symptoms you hear people talk about that I didn't have during that 2-week wait, so just to throw some of the popular ones out. Tiredness. I felt a bit tired, but I always feel a bit tired. Like I didn't feel extra specially tired. I didn't have any tiredness that made me think maybe I'm pregnant. So if you're not feeling that tired, I wouldn't take that as I'm definitely not going to be pregnant this month, because for me that wasn't a symptom at all. I know nausea is meant to start later and morning sickness is meant to start later, but I didn't have any sickness at all. I'm 7.5 weeks and I still haven't, which again scares me because they say sickness starts at 6 weeks and people get it horrendous, and I've not felt, apart from the odd wave of nausea, I have not felt sick at all, which if this pregnancy does end up being a healthy pregnancy, I feel so grateful, because why would anyone want to feel or be sick? But having gone through miscarriage, I would love nothing more. I know those of you that have had morning sickness or who have had babies are probably rolling your eyes and thinking, you really don't, but for me that would bring me so much comfort. It would make me think that my hormones were doing what they were meant to do, and I'd find the sickness quite comforting. So yeah, sickness wasn't a thing for me, and so far still isn't a thing for me. So if you don't have that, please don't think you're out again. What else? Frequent urination. In the 2-week wait, I did not notice that at all. Literally at all. I am a little bit more now, but I'm also constantly thirsty, so I'm drinking all the time, but that was definitely not a symptom for me early on. So yeah, again, don't want to be giving people false hope if they're watching this and thinking, oh, well, she didn't have it and I don't have it, so maybe I'm pregnant too, because I hate like getting it in your head that you're pregnant and then it being a negative. Like, there is nothing worse. But I also want to say that I didn't have many symptoms, and so far so good, and maybe that's not always a bad thing. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. That was such a rambly video. I hope I can edit this into something that makes some kind of sense. But yeah, I will leave it there. I've got another scan tomorrow, so I will let you guys know how that goes. And if everything is still looking okay after that scan, I am going to start pregnancy updates next week. Please let me know for these pregnancy updates how often you want them. I will do them as often as you guys would like to see them, whether that be weekly, monthly, by trimester. Just let me know what you guys want to see. If you've got any other video ideas for me, please let me know. I want to film what you guys want to see. And yeah, I hope you're all having a great weekend, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!